those were live images from the Kasarani Stadium, the Moi International Sports Center, Kasarani, where a 30-year investment in politics has seen William Samoei Arap Ruto declared the 5th President of the Republic of Kenya, alongside his deputy, Gregory Rigathi Gachagua, who was also sworn in. A lot has been happening in the Republic, and we are sure you are quite interested to know everything concerning this. And today in studio, we are going to comment a little bit concerning everything that has played out. And in studio, in my extreme right, I'm joined by Kennedy Sankara, a political analyst, and also closer to me is Nicholas Muremi, who is also a political analyst, to be able to look at what has played out in the just concluded event, where we have seen the president move along the stadium, greeting Kenyans and making his mark as the President of the Republic of Kenya after former President and retired President Uhuru Kenyatta just streamed out of the stadium. Things are moving and a transition is in play and has already started going on in motion. And gentlemen in studio, welcome to our studio and thank you for making time for this talk. Are you fine?
I'm okay.
I'd like to get your reactions concerning this. Sankara, I'll begin with you. Your reaction concerning the inauguration process that we've seen right now.
In as much as we have political affiliations, the inauguration is a manifestation of a mature democracy. In as much as the immediate former president, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, was heard saying that he will not hand over power to what I will call a thief, he has actually handed over power to the person who was elected as the president. So it is a manifestation of maturity in democracy, and the small countries in East Africa are looking upon us to further or in furtherance of their democratic growth. And it's also an opportunity for the president-elect or the current president to serve the people of Kenya. I will just advise him from Solomonic wisdom that in as much as elections are contest, people may elect you or some may fail. It is not a vengeance or time for vengeance and revenge. It is time for service to the people. I must also be ready to take positive critique, because people like us will not sit and watch him do something that we feel is contrary to what is expected to do. We are not requesting that he be lenient, but he must play within the constitutional limits, because the presidential powers are not, he does not have veto power. He's only acting on dominated power, which belongs to the people, and the constitution is crystal clear that the sovereign power belongs to the people of Kenya. So I believe it's going to work within the constitutional limits of a presidential power.
And thank you actually for that. You have begun on the deep end, but coming back to Nicholas, what are your sentiments concerning the whole thing that has played out? What have you seen? A sea of humanity was witnessed in the stadium. A lot of people were there. It was all yellow and green, as we saw, with a lot of Kenyans standing up to witness the inauguration of the 5th President of the Republic of Kenya. What are your reactions?
We are happy as Kenya Kwanza group, and I think we are done with politics. So it's time for our president to deliver what he promised to the people of Kenya. We still believe in him, and we hope he will deliver his best. And to the other opponent, as the new people, it's now time for them to remain supreme, to join, to help our president to deliver his manifesto to the people of Kenya.
And Sakara, you've had Nicholas here say concerning the time that it is the end of politics. Do you think it is really the end of politics, or as it is right now, or does politics still have to have its way?
I would not wish to make my comments in direct reference to his utterances, but allow me to say that is a political understatement. Politics is endless, because the process in discussion is a political process or a product of political processes. We do not expect the end to it, and maybe his words may be suggestive to what I've discussed in various stations as a deliberate, intentional effort by the current regime to silence opposition in a smart way. Calling everyone to the table to eat doesn't make sense. In a constitutional democracy like Kenya, we believe in the power of opposition. And again, Kenyans ask, who is this man to oppose the government? Our constitution is not clear on the roles of opposition, or there is no legal recognition of opposition in the government. It's actually a volunteer activity that, let's say, the Prime Minister Emeritus Raila Odinga had been doing. He wasn't being paid. He wasn't constitutionally recognized as the opposition leader, and again is not constitutionally mandated to oppose the government. I mean, this government is a government composed of godly people, and they claim the government was godly chosen. I've never come across any written evidence in the Bible where David, Solomon, and the likes had opposition to deliver. They have Solomonic wisdom. The proximity between them and the Solomonic wisdom is actually measurable in terms of closeness. So I don't think they really require opposition. It's good. It's important. Kenyans of goodwill, and you heard even Okia Omtata said he's not going to stand between President Ruto's flowery manifesto implementation. Everyone has decided to take a backbench so that the people who take over, actually they have time to lead. We have 100 days. We expect a lot that has been said, and this a lot that is expected to be implemented is in reference to constitutional economic rights under Article 43. We have access to medical care, or best attainable medical care, emergency services. We talk of education, basic necessities and such like things, and they were cascaded down into a point form of manifesto, whatever it is that is going to implement within the 100 days. Everyone should call off their troops and avoid opposing the government for the first 100 days, because the president is as political analysts, we've had these conversations there and here, and even times before. It was seen in the recent past, or the regime which has just come to an end, blaming the government for almost everything, yet he was sitting and prestigiously enjoying the powers and privileges of the office of the deputy president. Now that is the president and the commander-in-chief of defense forces, it is ample time that we let him work for the 100 days so that we gauge his capacity, either to be a pro-people propelled conversations or a mere political innuendos. Let him work. He has 100 days. No one should come out to oppose him. My individual suggestion. And even the people calling upon Raila to oppose the government, why? Let Raila rest. He gave Kenyans the best. But you see, when you look at social media today, a lot of young people, millennials of my age, take it to social media to bash Raila and call him all sorts of names. Those who are never appreciative of history will rush to do that. But persons who went to school and understand where Kenya has transitioned from, they really need to respect and understand the contributions which have been made. You've even had the president acknowledging Raila initially or previously in his utterances as one who has contributed immensely to constitutional progressive reforms in these countries. When we talk about the Supreme Court minor KI issues, these are basic constitutional issues that speak to institutional correctness, something that Baba has always agitated for. It is not in order for someone born in my years 2000 or whatever, deprived of knowledge and wisdom, to use free data or free mode Facebook to hurl abuses at leaders of national leaders, be it Uhuru, be it William Ruto, be it Rigathi Gachagua. People must learn to act within their limits. It is not in order. And that also calls for political sanity and maturity in either of the political formations. Some of these utterances have been driven and championed by persons who hold prestigious, lucrative, and adorable positions of influence in various political affiliations, respectfully referring to Kenya Kwanza. So it's a culture that going forward, we don't need to do that. Let people lose, but remember to leave them their dignity. You should not strip them of their dignity. And that's why I would say respecting the Supreme Court judgment is a constitutional expectation, but agreeing to it is an individual option. And here I'm saying I didn't agree to it. The language was not professional. And when the CJ came out yesterday to the judiciary to caution Kenyans against attacking them, I would say it is, every Kenyan is within the constitutional realm to critique any court of law judgment. And Mother Kome, with due respect, shouldn't even think of taking us to the back days of KANU, where no one could speak against anything. Let people speak. The court of public opinion, or prosecuting matters in the court of public opinion, that is an indispensable matter. It is a legal matter. And by the way, when someone is hurt, you don't prescribe how they mourn. You let them mourn as long as they relieve their grief.
And of course, do not even engage the rights of others in a negative manner, true?
And no one has been subjected wrongly. So I was just crystal clear on the modalities of mourning. Healing has got processes. I'm not a psychologist, but I can tell you there is processes. It's a process that starts from accepting the fact. Now, the Azimio supporters have actually coming to terms with the reality that William Samoei Ruto is the 5th president of the Republic of Kenya. It is an healing process. Even you people in media, I'm not a journalist, but I know there is media ethics, the stability of the people and the listeners. We know when to hear what, how to put it. So the Supreme Court judgment statement wasn't professional, I would say. You can't term it as hot air, wild goose chase, I don't know what. And I had an Azimio supporter saying, I will not speak against this government because the Supreme Court decided to call my one vote hot air. You see where we are coming from? We don't really need to go there. We can actually disagree in a respectful manner. I would say it is the art and mind of a civilized and educated mind to entertain other people's thoughts and opinions respectfully, in as much as you do not agree to them. Yeah, you still let the people retain their dignity. You don't strip them their victory, which they purport to have gotten, and they did not meet the constitutional threshold of substantiating a victory. And again, strip them their dignity. No, let them lose with dignity.
Something that is of note is that there is a healing process that is on course and is happening. Now, Muremi, I'll come back to you. A healing process is on course. We have a new president, a president who has a very major task of uniting the whole country because he's a symbol of national unity. How do you see the journey of Ruto in trying to breach all the issues that are within the country currently and bringing Kenyans to one pivot point so that you can have one focal agenda?
On the matter of court, sometimes expectations kills. Some people, like Azimio people, believed in what we call system and government. So the expectations were like the court. The court since Maraga ruled out nullified the 2017 election. So they believe they have the president, they have everything. So the expectations were like the election is going to be nullified automatically. But you find things came opposite the other way around. So my friend Sankara is trying to convince, is trying to tell us that the court ruling hazinakutosheka na ile ushahidi ya koti. So expectations killed Azimio people. Na lazima watazoea. You know, even their fellow Francis Atuli aliwaambia juzi, it's time mzoe rais wenu.
But I'm also coming to the point that for President Ruto to be able to move this country as one unit, there is a need for the country itself and the people who make the country to be one people. So there is a task that is very clear, because even if you are to look at the margins between the winner and the runners-up in the previous election, the discrepancy is quite tiny. So it means there is a big number which probably did not vote for Ruto. So bringing all these people back into the fold of Kenya as one people, in brevity, how do you see Ruto being able to manage this?
Ruto will be able to manage this simply because as you have heard, as he was speaking right away on his inauguration, he just saying that he has no problem that even he mentioned that he is going to continue with the project of Uhuru Kenyatta, something that people did not expect. William Ruto has no problem with Azimio people. The people who surround Raila Amolo Odinga are the ones who sometimes tries to cause commotions, as in wale watu kuwa na Raila Odinga are the ones sort of problem. Because as sometimes back William Ruto was once Azimio, alikuwa ODM. So mobilizing and bringing ODM together with Kenya Kwanza or Azimio together is not a big issue to him. He has friends there. So I don't think that's an issue. Yeah, since now even William Ruto is the president of Kenya, is a symbol of national unity. So I don't think bringing people of Azimio and Kenya Kwanza together is a big issue to him.
It's something that he will manage, or it's something that he may not really focus on?
Yeah, he will manage, but it's not something to focus on. You know, we as Kenya Kwanza, we are focusing on our agenda and manifesto.
But allow me to pick in, Nicholas.
Yeah.
It is now not the leader of Kenya Kwanza, it's the leader of the Republic of Kenya. How would bringing the people together really not serve as an issue to be considered by a national leader? Anyway, we'll proceed with that answer after a short break that you're about to have. Now, speaking on the figure of national unity, which is William Samoei Arap Ruto, the Supreme Court ensured to actually point out that he garnered the 50+1 required for him to be the President of the Republic of Kenya. Take a look at this.
While offering the final verdict on the presidential petition today at the Supreme Court, Lady Justice Martha Koome upheld the president-elect's win by confirming that Honorable William Samoei Ruto had met the constitutional threshold of 50+1 votes of the total votes cast. In her speech, she made clear that the IEBC had used the right formula in coming up with the numbers that they presented as the final outcome, which is the total votes counted less rejected votes divided by 2, which would amount to 50+1 votes. She further upheld the court's decision on the premise of the 2013 petition, which asserted that rejected ballot papers will not constitute a vote cast and will not be used. By doing so, a verdict was given in favor of the respondents, saying that the mathematics done by the IEBC was constitutionally accurate. In a unanimous decision, the judges at the Supreme Court sided with the respondents on this matter, having put into consideration all formulas raised by the petitioners, stating that the standard of proof met by the court was all in accordance with the Constitution. Stephanie Alice, reporting for KUTV.
Imagine living in a society that embraces social justice and equal opportunities for all. On Woman Crush Wednesday, Rise Today, we bring you experts for meaningful conversations on matters gender equality.
Mimi nasaona hakuna gender equality as we speak.
So we
Is okay. From the pictures you see on your screen is the arrival of a presidential motorcade of President William Ruto arriving at State House, Nairobi. This will be his residence for the next 5 years. And indeed, if he's re-elected in 2027, be his residence in 10 years. But this is the arrival of the President, Dr. William Samoei Ruto. Let me hand you back to studio. So we have a transition to State House. There will be a state banquet for all the visiting heads of state who would come for the swearing in of President William Ruto. And of course, later, the official handover of everything in the State House to President William Ruto by President Uhuru Kenyatta. Back to you, Ben Troy, at Broadcasting House.
That is the Commander-in-Chief of the Republic of Kenya, the 5th President of Kenya, William Samoei Arap Ruto, arriving at State House, the symbol of national unity, as we say. And Nicholas, as we proceed with our discussion, as the President settle in, he's actually unpacking his bags now. In a moment, he's about to host himself and actually be the host in the country at the State House, Nairobi. Concerning the matter of national unity, you are finishing on your sentiments before you had to take a short break. Kindly proceed.
As I was saying, uniting the country is not an issue. You see, in every game, you have to accept there must be a winner and a loser. So if someone, that's why Mr. President William Ruto said, in fact, he was not part of the handshake because he's saying that handshake is not the problem of the country. Is not uniting the country. It's about accepting the result, accepting to be. I have lost, so we move on. You see, so. What is needed is people was new to accept that they lose and move on. I think by that is enough. Yeah, you cannot unite a country. You cannot unite someone who is saying that my vote was stolen, who is not agreeing with the court, like my friend. He has said it clearly. He did not agree with the court ruling. So how will you unite such a person?
Well, there is no debate that in a race there is a winner and a loser. And concerning the matters on the election, the referee who is actually ensuring that everything plays out is the IBC. So, Sankara, kindly join in and give me a scorecard in your perception of how the IBC carried out the whole election right to the end and to the time where President-elect was actually declared.
Thank you, Emmanuel. Before I give you a scorecard, allow me to tell my colleague respectfully, accepting, disagreeing with the constitutional judgment, that is an individual decision. You are not the custodian of go ahead to either approve.
Not force someone. So
I'm not talking about forcing. And Emmanuel, next time you bring me here, please call me someone who can take a logical conversation in a professional way. You don't tell me mukubali, muzoe. That is unprofessional of someone who is trying to urge a voter outside there to actually come into terms with the electoral outcome. Back to the IBC scorecard. Not in this studio, not in the studio that I will mention, but I've walked around this nation. I've traversed Nairobi in various TV stations discussing the same thing. And I would say that election is not an event. It is a process. The process that culminates into an electoral outcome must abide or fall within the constitutional dictates or expectations of a constitutional definition of a free, fair, credible, and verifiable elections. At the onset, I remember even at one given point in time, I was sat in a panel with one of the IBC commissioners who walked away. I will not mention the station, but I will quote the commissioner, Justice Nyang'aya. I sat with him somewhere to ask the preparedness of IBC to deliver free and fair, credible, or verifiable presidential elections, or the elections in totality. First, as a procurement person, we believe in the 5 rights. You cannot get a right product through an inconsistent, irregular process. When the IBC procured the machines, I remember the tender for supplies of technology was awarded to Smartmatics, which is based in Nepal or whatever. Then we had the Lycos printing of ballot papers in Greece. And when an international bidder bids a local tender and qualifies, the law is crystal clear on the percentage or sharing of this tender. The local, the tender is out of 100%. 40% of the tender must be reserved for the locals, so that we also uphold that national, the virtues of nationhood. You find out that Smartmatics, who is an international bidder, bid for this tender to supply technology. They qualified. Then this Smartmatic had subcontracted a local supplier or a co-partner by the name Seamless International. Seamless International went ahead to contract the famous Jose Camargo and the rest, the international foreigners, to execute on behalf of the 40%. I mean, if constitutionally we expected to execute out of 100 and 60% is already gone international, 40% is a reserve for the locals. Then the local reserved 40% goes ahead to contract a foreigner to execute it. Automatically, that is a flaw in the law. Secondly, printing of Form 34A Book 2 of 2 raised questions, and IBC came out to explain the reasons as to why they printed it, and even reassured Kenyans that they were not going to be used. Automatically, during the Supreme Court proceedings, I took part actively in the submissions process and the hearing. It came clear out that when you add the the carbon copy of Form 34A, they were referring to Form 34A Book 2 of 2. They were used in as much as IBC told us initially that they were not going to be used. When you look at the preparation or the training of agents, of the IBC clerks, it wasn't done at the right time. Personally, I cast my vote in Kileleshwa at how do you call it? The Nairobi primary, something of the sort. When I went there, at St. Mary's School, when I went there to cast my vote, I practically experienced what for a professional language quotes as unprofessionalism and lack of preparedness from the side of IBC. I had to intervene and help voters, ordinary voters, verify their electoral polling station streams, because in the as opposed to 2017, when I voted for the first time, we had one polling stream. In 2022, we had a polling station with more than 2 or 3 polling streams, dependent on the number of registered voters per that polling station. You found out that one of the IBC clerks could not even help the ordinary voter to identify in which stream they are going to vote. You queue in stream A or stream 1 and you're supposed to be in stream 2. So by the time you get to the door of stream 1, you're told your name is a mismatch. It's not here. You belong to another stream. You cannot go and pass those people on the line. You have to to coup, that automatically generated commotion, something that I found that was, an element of lack of preparedness. And again, when we also considered the results transmission, I would not touch on the results transmission as much, because this is a wound that is still healing on the Azimio side. They believed in their own beliefs, which they are entitled to. And the court also gave its pronouncements. The transmission system wasn't that clear. I believe elections or Supreme Court judgments set jurisprudence and a reference to future cases. I believe this IBC that is yet to come, because we understand the Wafula Chebukati-led IBC is their time is ending in next year, 2023. They're going to vacate that office. A new commission is going to come in. But just to wrap up, I would say our Wafula Chebukati-led IBC, to me as Sankara, I've always said it everywhere, unapologetically, without any fear of favor, it has been one of the most inconsistent and reliable electoral bodies we've had, because basic things first, I disqualified it from that merit.
So your scorecard is that you don't merit the whole process.
Can't give, when I give IBC a scorecard, let me just try. I can give them 4 out of 10.
4 out of 10.
And the 4 out of 10, in a commission, the Supreme Court judges were asking critical questions. What is the role of an IBC CEO vis-a-vis the role of an IBC commissioner? The commissioner is vetted and approved by Parliament. The IBC CEO is an appointee who is not vetted in Parliament. How come a CEO has more powers than a commissioner? I quote one of the judges asking. So basically, looking at the division, the inconsistencies, the reported malpractices and irregularities, I can rate on a patriotic perspective 4 out of 10,
okay,
and maybe 3.
You have a 4. Nicholas, it is very clear that he's disgruntled about the way the election was carried out. So I'm going to also ask you, the whole process of the election, how was it for you? How did it play out?
So,
your scorecard in the brevity, actually.
You know, I cannot complain about the election. I think it was smooth, and sometimes we have to respect the court. The court ruled out carrying the complaints that my guy is saying. They took all their complaints to the court, and we have to respect the court. So I don't think there was any technical error or the process was smooth. So I have no complaint. I don't think I can comment on it.
If you were to rate it out of 10?
10 or 9 out of 10. Because you cannot carry 100%. You cannot carry 100%. 14 million. An election involving 14 million people cannot be 100% perfect. Obviously, there are some errors, there are some technical errors which might occur, which they were the ones they were complaining about. Small technical errors which have no different, could not even help their fellow Azimio, Raila Amolo Odinga. So I cannot complain about the IBC. The process was smooth, and the court ruled out. I don't think.
Now, Moremi, there's also the factor of vengefulness and forgiveness. The Kenya Kwanza has come out, and even the deputy president, Rigathi Gachagua, and also the president, Bwana William Ruto, has very clarified that there will be no coming back to those who seemingly harmed them when they were on the opposing side, or on the wrong side of power. Now, coming forward, when you listen to the speeches that have been released by these two leaders, do you believe that we are moving on in a procession that will have no tactics of maybe vengeance to those who at one time or the other rubbed shoulders wrongly with these women in power?
Yeah. No. You know, sometimes revenge even Gachagua said. He had a problem with President Uhuru Kenyatta. I think he said it yesterday, but there's still room for forgiveness. So I don't think it's assuming of people who have built that mentality in their mind that these people are going to revenge because of what they were doing and some evil things. You know the first government that they formed, after the handshake, how they ruled out Deputy President William Ruto at that time from the government. The government was so bad. So they have built a mentality that these people now are going to revenge. But I think that's not the case.
Mm-hmm. Now, looking at matters as they are currently, all the arms of government are in force. The judiciary is on form. The executive is now on form, and also we saw recently MPs and senators were sworn in, as this report will clarify about everything that played out in the various houses of parliament.
The 349 members of parliament were today sworn in the first ever sitting of the 13th parliament after they were elected in the August 9th general election. Led by Aden Duale, the member of parliament of Garissa Township, the members took oath one after the other and promised to protect and defend the constitution and work for the people of Kenya. The ceremony was presided over by Clerk Sarah Kioko, who made history by becoming the first ever female clerk to swear in members of parliament. Likewise, the members of the Senate, who include the 47 elected senators and other members, are also sworn in. Kakamega Senator Boni Halwale, among his other counterparts, took their oaths in the ceremony presided over by Clerk Jeremiah Nyengenye. They thereafter proceeded to their first order of business, which was to elect their House Speaker and Deputy Speaker. With the swearing in and inauguration business being complete, the members of Parliament and the Senate can now dive into the task of serving the Kenyan people in their allocated roles. Stephanie Alice reporting for KUTV.
Driving and riding without incidences on the road is such an amazing experience. But do you know, while many road traffic crashes are avoidable, human behavior continues to be the leading cause. Speeding, lane indiscipline, drunk driving, distracted driving, failure to wear a helmet, and failure to use available pedestrian ways have been flagged by NTSA as the fatal 6 behaviors likely to lead to a fatal crash and serious injuries. As part of the Usalama Barabarani campaign, we request all road users to prevent these fatal 6 behaviors for their own safety and that of others. When driving, ensure your speed is within the stipulated limits. The road ahead is clear before overtaking. Stick to your lane. Keep left unless carefully overtaking. You're well rested if driving on long distances, and you never drink and drive. Usalama Barabarani starts with you. Fika Salama. This message is brought to you by the National Transport and Safety Authority and the European Union.
Maelfu na maelfu ya wahamiaji wakiwa na watoto kutoka nchi za Amerika ya Kati wanaendelea kuwasili kwenye mpaka kati ya Marekani na Mexico.
But folks, I'm going. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Ni habari kutoka pembe zote duniani.
Pepopa si vuguvugu. Pepopa ni idea.
Tazidi ananyonya, hanyonyi vizuri, anakuwa hayuko comfortable.
Jeshi la Jamhuri ya Kidemokrasia ya Kongo linapambana na waasi wa ADF.
Kwa sasa wanatoa wito kwa mashirika, makampuni na vile vituo vya uchukuzi.
Mambo mengi yatakwenda kama yalivyopangwa.
Hapa ni kuna mmoja wa viongozi wa chama cha wavuvi katika eneo hili.
Zaidi tunajaribu kuwapa chanjo ili ina boost ama inanyanyua kinga ya mwili, ndio inaenda kupelekea kupambana na virusi.
Ni duniani leo, Jumatatu mpaka Ijumaa, moja kwa moja kutoka VOA Swahili, Washington DC.
We are going to prepare something we call pan-seared pork belly served with carrot puree and some sauteed onions together with some flavorings.
Bila shaka, mbiu ya mgambo ikilia, kuna jambo. Na sasa, katika KUTV Rise Today, makala ya TBT. Tunaongeza kuni, tunawasha moto. Tunaingia barabarani kuangalia hali ilivyo. Takwimu za corona na kupa habari zinazojiri na zinazokuhusu na kujuza na kukumbusha yaliyotendeka siku kama hii ndani ya historia. Kisha na kuletea wageni na wataalam, tudadavui, tufahamu na tuchukue nafasi yetu kama vijana katika uongozi, uchumi na masuala ya kisiasa nchini. Na joto likizidi, tunaingia uwanjani, tunachambua spoti ya Kenya. Ni kila Alhamisi saa 1 hadi saa 4 asubuhi, nami Vincent Maina almaarufu Ojwang mtoto wa Mariam, ndani ya KUTV, a new experience.
Unemployment has hit you hard. Your salary is meager. You decide to venture into business, but you're struggling to thrive in it. You would want to reap a big tip on how not to run into losses.
Forget the preachy business vlogs, the hyperbolic motivational speeches, and all the roads down desperation.
Hope has come with model stories from small successful entrepreneurs. We tell you these tales weekly on The Budding Entrepreneur. Join us as we help you make your trade profitable and often smile to the bank.
Welcome back. As it stands, Kenya is in the hands of a new administration, in that of William Samoei Arap Ruto, who is now the President of the Republic of Kenya, alongside Geoffrey Rigathi Gachagua, the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya. And both of them were sworn in within the constitutional time, between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. It was televised all over the country for all within the country to be able to view this, and also globally to be a testimony that in Kenya we are now moving on with our journey. Political season has been quite tumultuous for all of us, but we are moving on. And in studio I'm joined by Kennedy Sankara and Nicholas Muremi, who are actually breaking it out for us to be able to actually diversify and actually understand what is playing out in the country, and also to see where we're moving on forward from here. Now, moving on with our discussion, I'm going to look at about the 100 days in office. There's a lot that these two have to look into, because we are currently faced with the challenge of high food prices. We are having a situation with fuel prices. The common wananchi is really struggling to make ends meet. And my question is, how do you see Ruto being able to turn around this situation? Sankara, being in it.
Well, some of the policies, some of the promises that William Ruto gave as a presidential candidate, and what the people of Kenya expect him to execute as a president-elect and sworn-in executive officer of the government, those are two different things. Let it be remembered that some of the expectations required legislation, which I believe as of today he has the numbers in parliament. And again, we also had number two in the in the manifesto that were fronted to Kenyans by His Excellency Dr. William Ruto, the timing, the 100 days is insufficient and a clear indication. I'm not being too negative, but I'm being optimistic in a negative environment. He said they are going to lower the price of fertilizer from 6,000 to 2,500 per bag. Today he has just lowered it slightly higher than what he told Kenyans. He said he is going to lower it to 2,500 per bag. Those who are not.
Sankara, don't you think it will make a margin because it's around 50%
those who are not my
reduction?
Words, well, making a margin, I'm just being idealistic and realistic between the pronouncement of a promise and the execution or implementation of the same promise. He said he is going to make the prices lower, and I will narrow down or sum up in reference to Article 43, the economic rights of Kenyans. Today, a lot of Kenyans suffer to get the best attainable medical health care. Kenyans suffer insecurity. You saw in other constituencies elections had to be postponed because there were violence or insecurities reported in those regions. Kenyans today are struggling with the dilemma between the 844 and the CBC. Kenyans today are struggling with the unga price, and they are asking whether they are going to eat chapati, which is equally expensive, and unga. So those who rely on the unga things or the ugali are actually feeling it tough, and I can feel for my brothers from the western region. But again, they need not to worry. Musalia Mudavadi is in government, and they're going to do something about it. But well, he can achieve. I have my reservations that I would speak about the president-elect. But again, I have my opinions that I would speak about Dr. William Ruto. But at the moment, I have my reservations as to why I may not speak them. Because when I speak, I may be misquoted for speaking where I'm speaking. It's not a negative thing. I don't just want to give my comment exactly on what is there, but the reality is that with the state of the economy, remember some of these things require legislation, and they take into consideration several things. Remember, they said, and the language of the DP was so harsh. He has been reiterating that they've inherited a dilapidated economy. Politically, that sends a signal to his followers that do not expect much, in as much as we promised to give. And personally, I've worked with these politicians, even the presidential campaign team. I can tell the best policy to work with a politician is always have the least minimum expectations, such that whenever they give a reward, it comes as a surprise. Because if you expect much, you'll definitely get very little. So taking into consideration the 100 days timeline, the 8.6 trillion debt, reservicing that debt, remember we're going to spend 60% of our revenue to service debts. That automatically leaves you at a junction, crossroads. 40% you have health, 40% you have education, you want to ensure security, economy. It's hell on earth. Actually, if there is someone who has the toughest job to do, is the president. He has a very tough task, but again, I don't sympathize with him. He is part of the process as to why we are here. He was a deputy president for 10 years, so he definitely has the capacity and the knowledge to navigate and get to actual solution. When you take part in a problem, you definitely harbor the knowledge and wisdom of navigating that problem. I'm not trying to associate the economic crisis to the former immediate president Uhuru Kenyatta, because he was not a president alone. He was a president with the deputy, and this deputy has just taken over. And if I was right, the deputy president Rigathi Gachagua just said they want to take the economy back to where Kibaki left it. He is already even assuming that William Ruto, who is the president, was a deputy president in the previous regime. I mean, we must avoid such political confusions. Let us be realistic and real. You cannot run, you cannot skip those 10 years that they were in office. In as much as that is what his statement was trying to allude, he cannot escape. He was in that office as the deputy president. So saying they want to take back the economy to where President Kibaki left it, and the president was a product of the previous administration, that's a broad-day fallacy. It doesn't work that way. So the body language also communicated a lot of things. So an expert will tell you that the body language of the DP was an arrogant and sound full of vengeance.
And of course, we'll leave that to an expert in that view, yes?
Yes, but again, I also qualify to be one, because for me to get to tell you that an expert...
I'll try to validate you on that before we go that way. Uribi, I'd like to know, 100 days in office, what do you see for Ruto and Rigathi?
You know, sometimes it's going to be appreciative. You know, Ruto has just lowered fertilizer price from 6,000 to 3,500. 100 days is not yet. Those are within 4 hours of his inauguration, not even 4 hours, minutes. William Ruto has just talked about CBC. William Ruto has just talked about fuel prices. In fact, he has promised Kenyans within 30 days they will be having an answer. So you can see this guy has a future for Kenyans. This guy is capable of delivering his policies, his manifesto. So I think if he is capable of formulating or delivering some of his promises, like lowering fertilizer prices within 30 minutes of his inauguration. What about 100 days?
And it is quite a goal, I must say, Muremi. And looking that he has the backing of Rigathi Gachagua, what do you think, considering that in the previous regime, we had a challenge between the deputy president and the president, in this current regime, do you view in your perspective that Rigathi will be able to actually back Ruto to attain all these goals that he has set?
Yes, 100% yes. I believe on Gachagua. Gachagua is a good leader. So he also promised to Kenyans nothing. Even the president William Ruto, he promised to Kenyans nothing will bring him enmity again. He won't allow whatever happened last time between him and President Kenyatta, former President Kenyatta. So I don't think.
Well, I'm pressed for time, unfortunately, but I'll allow some final submissions in a minute. If my director will allow me a minute so that you can have some final submissions from both of you before we actually end this session. Sankara, I'll allow you to begin, and Muremi will finish so that I can be able to conclude this show.
Well, elections come and go, but the injustices met in the electoral process should not be subject to, the past. We can adjust, pick, realign, and ensure that a mistake is always a mistake when it's repeated, so we avoid it. My advice to the people of Kenya, at this particular point in time, this is the truth people will not tell you. The country is divided into two. Remember, the Azimio flag bearer marshaled the support of over 6 million people. Same to the president, who had 7 million people on his side. Those are on voters' side. So these people are actually split at the middle. But let us not take politics too personal to an extent that you go ahead insulting someone who is always there for you, while you cannot even reach some of these leaders. Some are claiming here and shouting we're in government, and the proximity from them and the government is as far as heaven is far from earth. Humble yourself. Work with the people you see around you. Remember the mama mboga you see in the street, it's only Otieno, Mwangi, and Mutua who buys from you, not your political affiliation. So there comes a time that we have to differentiate politics and business and life. And we definitely going to live a peaceful country. But the president has got a tough task. I'm telling you for a fact. The country is divided. We've reached a point where Ochieng is ordering a Uber, and when it brings the name of Mwangi, he cancels until Otieno comes. That is a fact I have witnessed. So we have a tough task ahead. Division is real, but there is nothing no irreconcilable crime or differences on earth. People can disagree to agree, because at the end of the day, my ID will recognize me as a Kenyan, not as a Kikuyu, not as a Luo, not as a Luya or whatever. So we have to embrace that virtue of nationhood and togetherness.
Indeed. And what we have seen actually with the current election is that Kenyans have produced a lot of maturity. And given concerning everything that has played out, we've been able to see Kenyans move in a way that is democratically mature, and is something to actually commend. Remy, in your final sentiments.
Yeah, we are done with politics. The campaign period is over. We have our president. So let's support our president. Let's remain peaceful. And I think elections come and go. So, but neighbors, individuals friends will remain friends. You be a Luo, you be a Luya, you be a Kikuyu, you be a Meru. So we should remain peaceful and support the government. I think that is enough for me.
Indeed, around 20 heads of state were here in the country to witness the inauguration of William Samoei Arap Ruto, Dr. William Samoei Arap Ruto, as the 5th President of the Republic of Kenya. All this has been playing out in full view of the Kenyan people, those at the stadium, those watching on their screens like right now, the way you've been watching. And I appreciate that we've been able to have the company of Kennedy Sankara and Nicholas Muremi, who have been able to break down everything concerning and using their perception. A keen eye, I must say, because they are within the political arena, and even as we come to a position where we actually like sealing out the political arena to try and move into a developmental age, it is key to ensure that you also look back and ensure everything is on point. Now, before we come to our end of our show tonight, and thank you for actually keeping us company, we are going to now move into looking at William Samoei Arap Ruto and who he is and where he's come from. We start with his deputy, of course, Rigathi Gachagua. Let's get to know who Rigathi